I'm far more frightened of the far right than I am of Islamic terrorism.
Wait, what?
I'm far more frightened of the far right than I am of Islamic terrorism.
I'm far more frightened of the far right than I am of Islamic terrorism.
Right, because far-right terrorists in the UK have killed 36 people and injured a further 212 in the last 3 months alone, haven't they? No, that's Muslims.
I'm far more frightened of the far right.
According to Europol, there were 13 jihadist attacks in Europe last year, 27 left-wing terror attacks, and just 1 right-wing attack. Just since Ramadan started, there's been 152 Islamic terror attacks, which have killed 1,389 people all over the world. There were so many Islamic terror attacks, I couldn't even fit them into a single tweet containing 4 images because the list was 5 pages long. That's just over the last 27 days.
I'm far more frightened of the far right than I am of Islamic terrorism.
That's like saying you're more frightened of a teacup chihuahua than a rabid, hungry, wild wolf. You complete fucking moron.
Nobody's talking about essentially the radicalisation of young white men.
Yeah, because it's not happening. Unless I missed that story where young white men were being radicalised at churches that were literally raising money for international terrorist groups.
Because the far right is far more mainstream. The far right is the Sun fucking newspaper and the consequences of that.
Yeah, last time I checked, people weren't blowing little girls up at pop concerts because of something they read in the Sun.
The far right is Katie Hopkins, up until very recently, having a mainstream show that everyone could listen to the whole time.
Right, because when terrorists are mowing down people in a van, they're not shouting Allah Akbar, they're shouting Katie Hopkins.
The far right is Nigel Farage putting these posters up that are actually using the same imagery that Hitler's propaganda used.
It took us 30 seconds to descend into literally Hitler! So Jewish refugees driven from their homes under violent persecution and the fear they'd be sent to gas chambers is equally as frightening as Nigel Farage saying that 300,000 immigrants flooding into the UK every year is unsustainable.
When I first heard about the Finsbury Park mosque attack, I was really angry and upset. People who've done nothing to anyone being harmed for the sake of hatred.
I completely agree. So you must have been equally angry when those 36 other victims were also killed for the sake of hatred, right? Let me check what she said about the Manchester attack. She must have been absolutely furious.
What a sad and horrible day.
And that's it. That's all she said about it.
You've got the Sun that lies and creates a false front page headline saying that 20% of Muslims have sympathy for jihadis, which wasn't true at all.
She's right. It was actually 25%. 2/3 of UK Muslims wouldn't inform police if they knew someone was going to join ISIS. And 32% refused to condemn those who take part in violence against those who mock the Prophet. Didn't want to mention those statistics, did you?
I'm far more frightened of young white men. They have the fucking gall to pretend they have some kind of moral high ground when there's a terrorist attack. When they show up like vultures straight away, Tommy Robinson running to Westminster.
Yeah, let me explain something. Tommy Robinson works for a media organisation as a reporter. Reporters, you know, report from the scene of breaking news events. That's how reporting works. You're not angry at him for showing up, you're angry at him because he's got a different opinion to you. Boo-hoo!
A white person commits a crime like this, they're a troubled loner, and there's an effort to understand them with sympathy and to talk about them in terms of mental health.
Oh, you mean like when the BBC produced a puff piece documentary about the left-wing terrorist who tried to assassinate Donald Trump, where they tried to understand him with sympathy and talked about him in terms of mental health.
Michael stated he'd wanted to shoot and kill Trump, but were these the actions of a boy with a history of mental health problems?
This is not a hardened criminal. This is just a young kid who found himself in an awful situation.
Last time I checked, Tommy Robinson or Katie Hopkins hadn't tried to assassinate a head of state or massacre Republican lawmakers, unlike left-wing terrorists.
I'm far more frightened of the far right.
Surely, this can't get any dumber. Surely she's not going to start blaming Islamic terror attacks on toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity. Male violence is a problem in our society.
Oh, you mean male violence like acid attacks, honour killings, beatings and stoning female rape victims to death? That kind of male violence? Yeah, it's only a problem in certain societies though, isn't it? The very ones that you refuse to talk about.
It's just ironic that they demonise the people at this mosque.
So you're whining about Muslims being collectively demonised as terrorists, having introduced this very video by collectively demonising all white men as terrorists.
Young white men.
Young white men. Young white men.
Again, you're a fucking moron.
All of this is all about othering people. It's about taking people's humanity away from them. Young white men.
It's just ironic.
Who is this idiot anyway? Oh, it's a privileged Oxford-educated, Corbynista, Guardian-reading, lovey UK comedian celeb living inside the M25 lefty bubble who's butthurt about Brexit. Imagine my shock. She's newly single.
I'm frightened of men.
This is what social justice does to you girls. Just say no.
I'm far more frightened of the far right than I am of Islamic terrorism. I'm far more frightened of the far right than I am of Islamic terrorism. I'm far more frightened of the far right than I am of Islamic terrorism. I'm far more frightened of the far right than I am of Islamic terrorism. I'm far more frightened of the far right than I am of Islamic terrorism. I'm far more frightened of the far right than I am of Islamic terrorism. I'm far more frightened of the far right than I am of Islamic terrorism.
I'm far more frightened of the far right than I am of Islamic terrorism.
You're an idiot!
What could be more triggering to libtards than my face and this slogan? Get your new premium quality "Conservatism is the new counterculture" t-shirt right now at InfowarsStore.com and let the butthurt commence.